Ms. Carnes, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Thank you all for attending this Board of Commissioners meeting October 12th, 2023 for the Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. As I stated earlier, our chair had a pressing appointment this morning with the doctor that he could not change, and so he asked me if I would sit in his stead. Welcome. Today we have somewhat of a lengthy agenda, and so for that reason, we have a couple of recognitions to get to, 2 or 3 resolutions and a couple of presentations. And so when they are, when the time is here for those things, we will probably have to back up to them because they were scheduled for the agenda goals to come in on the front end of the agenda. With that, I will begin by beginning with the approval of, I think, 4 sets of minutes. Ms. Carnes, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
If you would move through them, beginning with September 5th and moving through the 29th.
Yes, sir. Minutes of the September 5th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. May I have a motion, please?
I so make a motion that we accept the minutes as
Thank you.
printed.
A second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Purrier? Aye. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Mr. Albert?
Aye. September 12th.
September 12th, 2023, Board of Commissioners meeting minutes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second, please? Second. Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Purrier? Aye. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Mr. Albert?
Aye. September 14th.
Minutes of the September 14th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. May I have a motion, please?
I so moved.
A second, please?
Second.
Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Purrier? Aye. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Mr. Albert?
Aye. And then September 14th.
September 29th.
I'm sorry, 29th. We just did 14th, didn't we?
Minutes of the September 29th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. May I have a motion, please?
I so moved.
A second, please?
Second.
Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Purrier? Aye. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Mr. Albert?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carnes. And we were scheduled to do recognition this morning. We can move forward with one, and we've had some little challenging things to move through in the past few weeks since we last convened to engage in our monthly business. But we've been blessed to have steady leadership. And so for that, let's begin. I want to begin by reading this resolution of gratitude. For services rendered as interim executive director of the Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority, Mr. Michael G. Clark. We wanted to share our gratitude, Michael, and read this resolution into the historical context of the authority and its approval of its board, whereas Michael G. Clark has served as interim executive director of Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority, i.e. the authority, since March 2023 and has been an employee of the authority since 1985, before they invented the bullet. Whereas throughout his career and his service as interim executive director, Michael has demonstrated an unwavering support for the authority's mission of providing decent, safe, affordable housing as well as related essential services for the citizens of Norfolk. Whereas Mike has been a strong advocate of empowerment opportunities for the citizens of Norfolk through his understanding, empathy, and untiring dedication to the needs of NRHA's residents. And whereas Mike has provided exceptional leadership by creating solutions to improve the authority's processes and has worked tirelessly to resolve routine as well as unexpected challenges. And whereas Mike's calm demeanor, quiet strength, thoughtful and careful consideration, sincerity, inherent fairness, and reasonable voice prevailed in times of strife and served as a model of appropriate professional conduct. And whereas Mike has consistently carried out his responsibilities as an employee of the authority and as interim executive director with integrity, dedication, and perseverance. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the commissioners of the authority, do hereby take this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation for Mike's service and many contributions to the authority. Be it further resolved that the chairman of the Board of Commissioners of the authority is hereby directed to provide a copy of this resolution to Michael G. Clark and cause a copy of said resolution to be placed on record in the office of the authority. Adopted this 12th day of October, 2023. Michael, our sincere gratitude and thanks to you for your leadership. Ms. Carnes was supposed to read this. I asked her to read it this morning, and I went ahead and read it for her. So, again, look at Michelle. Thank you, sir. That's why we were able to get it in on you. We will ensure that you get this copy and an additional one, whatever is formally framed for you.
And we also need to formally vote on it.
Oh, we do?
Make it a real
I'm sorry, so sorry. We should have done that first, shouldn't we? All right, so we take a formal vote on presenting this resolution to Mr. Clark, and I'd like to, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Ms. Carnes?
Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Courier? Aye. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Mr. Albert?
Aye. Aye, aye, aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. We have now another hero to recognize, and we knew he'd be here, and we knew he'd be fashionably late, as he often is.
It's my very real pleasure to present this resolution of gratitude to Raytron L. White for services rendered as Commissioner of the Norfolk Redevelopment Housing Authority. Whereas Raytron L. White has served as a member of the Board of Commissioners, the board, of the Norfolk Redevelopment Housing Authority, since August 1st, 2022. Whereas throughout his tenure on the board, Raytron has demonstrated unwavering support for the authority's mission, providing decent, affordable, safe housing, as well as related essential services to the citizens of Norfolk. Whereas Raytron has served as a passionate advocate for residents of NRHA's communities and a voice for equitable treatment of such residents regardless of race, age, or economic circumstance. Whereas Raytron has been a strong supporter of resident programs, particularly educational and recreational activities for children residing in NRHA communities, both through his service on the board and through his work as the president of the Grandy Village Tenant Management Corporation. Whereas Raytron brought valuable insight to the board and was instrumental in assisting the board to better recognize NRHA's initiatives and the impact of those initiatives on the needs of NRHA's residents. And whereas Raytron has consistently carried out his responsibilities as commissioner with dedication, perseverance, and pragmatism. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the commissioners of the authority, do hereby take this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation for Raytron's service to the authority and his many contributions to the board. Be it further resolved that the chairman of the Board of Commissioners of the authority hereby directed to provide a copy of this resolution to Raytron White and cause a copy of said resolution be placed on record in the office of the authority, adopted this 13th day of July, 2023. May I have a motion?
It's right behind. Oh,
May I have a motion to?
I make a motion.
Okay.
we don't need it, but we'll carry it.
Right, it was previously approved.
It was previously, but I wanted him to hear.
Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you so much.
We have a motion from Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
May I have a second?
second.
Thank you. Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Puryear?
Aye.
Mr. Lewis?
Resounding yes, aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Mr. Albert?
Aye.
So, may I say something to?
Yeah, let me, let's make the presentation, Raytron, before we.
Sure.
Let us-
All right. Oh, fabulous.
Wow.
I know, you're
Fabulous.
there, so thank you, Raytron.
Raytron, yeah, there you go. That's right.
I thank you, all for this. I really appreciate it. The legacy has not died. It's really actually got strong because I learned both sides of the fence. And I am still in the fight for the win of justice for NRHA. And Vice Chairman and the board, it's a pleasure sitting here. But what I do ask for you all to do as a board to make sure that we want to account for you, be accountable for what the actions that will further this agency. And I am accounting on each and every one, even the new board members, for the policy of this agency to go. Just the board members, no one else but the board. And maybe we can give the new, their ED, a warm welcome, because I will be sitting down with him, telling him and asking him some things that I think as a resident, to fight for the residents and the staff of NRHA, not let one person to do this. And I have a letter. I'm so sorry the chairman couldn't be here, but I have a letter that was sent to me, and I'm going to send it to every one of you. Commissioners, you need to just read it and see it, some things that were on. And but I'm so excited, and I'll make sure. I'm going to miss working with you. You were great, good friend. And I thank all of you. And Mr. Clark, to God be the glory for the great things you've done for the agency. So we're proud of you. I am, and all the residents, I can say, that what you've done in the short time you did some courageous things for the agency. So I'm excited about it. So anytime you need me, I'm just 10 digits away. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Raytron. Thank you. And as a body, please count us among that group of imperfect entities that has been placed among us, and we look forward to all of the ways that you and other caring, concerned citizens work to help us get better. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Carnes, we are open to have public comments if there are any public speakers sign up to give comments this morning. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, before we do that, we have Karen Hughes, who is our interim second in command. Forgive me for not reading the title, but if you would, Karen, you have an update on the call boxes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
And I'll move here. So good morning again, commissioners, executive team, and guests. I want to speak very briefly about the call boxes that has had long discussions for our public housing communities, especially for Calvert and Young Terrace. NRHA has secured a vendor for installation of a call tower in Calvert Square. My hope is that it will be in the ground by the end of the month. The vendor is waiting for a couple of basic things for the installation, but we're finally here. I appreciate, all the efforts of everybody trying to make our communities safer. and I look forward in the future, to collaborating, exchanging ideas. And I'm very, very excited, and I'll accept any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you.
That's awesome, that's exciting.
Thank you,
All
Karen.
right, thank you.
I got a question.
Go ahead,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ariel.
Yeah, I'm a little newer, so the call boxes, from my understanding are like the police boxes that they have, they monitor, right?
So the call boxes are similar to what you may see on any college campuses
Yeah.
or large parking lots.
Granby Street, too, they have some of those on Granby Street, like, are they like cameras?
So there are call boxes that actually a person could push the button to get, police assistance.
Okay.
So they will be monitored, the one that we're putting in Calvert Square. So it will have camera access as well.
It's a site, emergency notification apparatus. It notifies police in any event of emergency, and the citizens in the community have, the opportunity or the ability to, utilize the, site notification. We've been having some, citizens share with us their, desire to have them. Some have seen them in operation, some have not. But we gave it through Karen's leadership, we gave it a sort of a research and not fully trial run. This is intended to be a good trial run for us to see if and how well they work for us. And so we wanted the community and the citizens to know that we hear them, and our leader has kind of stepped up to research those things and met with some of the citizens and some of the, some of the interested persons and organizations that were pressing to do something akin to this. And so Karen met with did our research to it, and her and our interim executive director just made sure at the behest of the board that we would try to get a model up that we could look at, see if we could make it beneficial for the community. Okay. All right?
Karen?
Yes, sir.
So right now, this is the only one we will have in place of any of our communities.
Yes, right now, this is going to be our trial or pilot project, I should say. And Calvert Square was chosen based on statistical data. I had very close relationship with the chief to talk about the crime in our communities, and Calvert seemed to be the ideal place to place the tower.
How long is this test going to be in place before we make a determination whether or not to scrap them or expand here?
Well, the one that we have, we're not going to scrap. That is ours. It will remain there. I think it's going to be advantageous for us to really track the data closely. There is no other city that I have found that has used call towers in any residential setting.
Karen, repeat Earl's question for the people back here.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear him. What was your question, Earl?
I was just asking, how long are we going to have this in place before we begin to assess the data that's collected?
Okay. All right.
To
Thank you.
answer your question from day one.
Okay.
From day one.
Phil?
There are many people here, again, who are waiting to hear about this. Now, I'll ask another question to kind of extend on what Earl said. What will we use as metrics of success? What we'll say this works? What we'll be looking at to say this is working or it's not? And we discover that there are issues. Will we do anything to change what might bend the curve toward it being successful?
I think the usage of the tower, compared to the statistical data that I received from the police department, the calls for service, those two things I have access to, we would try to find a correlation between how much the box is used, if it's used, versus the demographics and the stats that we get in the community. So there again, this is a new concept for residential areas. So we're really going to be spearheading or starting this as an example for other authorities.
Thank you, Albert.
So, this data will be tracked closely, maintained by whom?
and then reported to who? Maintained by me and reported, to this board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen.
Earl, I say too, I'd like to offer my thanks to Karen for keeping us up to speed as to what's going on in these various communities with regard to, criminal activity and other untoward activities that take place. I think you do a fine job of keeping us informed before the media informs us. And, as long as we can be in front of that curve, I think we can feel comfortable about the information we get. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
And one other, item before we go back to our public comments, our colleague, Amy Shazinski, did I say that right?
Yes.
All right. In the loss of, her, grandmother, we wanted to share with you, Amy, that we were all along the way, both concerned about you and grieving with you and praying for you. And with that, we wanted to present you with a little token, if you will, of our unanimity as it relates to the board, our kinship, and tell you, one, thank you for your service. Two, we feel your pain. And three, we thank you for your service and wanted to show our gratitude while you go through this challenging time.
Thank you, I really appreciate that, that's so sweet.
Amen. Anything you want, if you wanted to comment behind that, you can. I know you're a lawyer and you'll never have lost a word.
No, it means a lot because, I mean, I was thinking about my grandmother on the way
Amen.
here this morning, and I'm wearing her cross.
Oh,
That was given to me afterwards, so. She was an amazing woman. She came from Poland, and she went through a lot. She was in
Amen.
Poland for the worst of times
yeah.
and witnessed horrors that we can't even
Sure,
talk about.
sure.
So,
Yeah.
I know she's in a good place now, so
Amen.
thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Now with that, are we prepared for public comment, Mike? So, are there any public comments? Do we do the ones on the phone first or ones in person?
We do both, and
Okay.
Ms. Cruz has a list for you.
Okay. Commissioner?
Yes, at this time, we have 6 in-person speakers, so I'll announce the first 2.
Okay.
Mr. Carl Poole from the New Virginia Majority, and his topic to addresses and update call towers in St. Paul, immediately followed by Javon Bennett, topic to address is community concerns and also with New Virginia Majority.
All right.
Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
My name is Carl Poole, I live at 1049 West 49th Street. I'm not gonna lie, having not heard anything before this morning about any updates on the progress of getting call towers in St. Paul, so as the pilot had me a little worried, and I was about to relay that worry. I was very glad to hear more details from you all, answer your questions, and get the update from Karen Rhodes on, well, as she put it, this innovative strategy. This isn't a new technology. It's been used for years at college campuses, on roadsides, near bridges. It's just applying it to public housing communities and giving residents there, well, a chance to determine when they need help, as opposed to having simple surveillance, monitoring police or whatever to determine when folks need help. It's an innovative new way to apply it, this technology. And yeah, this is new for public housing, and that is a good thing. What I would like to do, and I'll probably get with Karen afterwards, is get those details about, what company, what the time frame is. I know originally it was 45 to 60 days that it's installed, but I understand how, contractors and getting approvals from the city and land and figuring out where power goes. I know how that drags things out and can understand it. But I am grateful for the fact that we got an update this morning and that you are progressing on using this innovative strategy. And I definitely will get with Karen to get more details. Thank you once again, and that you're responding to what people need. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Before I even start, I do want to appreciate Ray Tron real quick. Having a resident on the board, is vital. Even though he's not here anymore, I appreciate the services he has done. And he's going to continue, hopefully, to keep this fight going on and hold y'all accountable, you know. Hold me accountable as well. I do appreciate your services. Today I really want to talk about you guys. Like, you know, we've been talking, having conversations and seeing the turnover of NRHA, which has been, in my eyes, a good thing. You know, everybody's been receptive to things, but you're no good to the community if you're no good to yourself. You know, you can't help others if you can't help yourself. Mental health, you know, is a hot topic nowadays, and we deal with mental health throughout the community, you know, it's rampant. And I've seen some of you guys work. I've seen others who are not here anymore work to death 7 days a week, sometimes be up 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know you guys' policy, but I think this is something that will help the community move forward. And that's like having a mental health day. Sometimes I come in here, I read faces, I read body languages, I'm like, yeah, they shouldn't be here. I don't know y'all policy, I don't know like y'all vacation days, y'all sick days, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, everybody goes through something, like for real, like I go through things, you know, my boss will look at me like, go ahead, have a mental health day.
And do.
Yeah, and do. And it rejuvenates me, you know, I come back with a better attitude, I get things done, you know, et cetera, because if I don't have that break, I'm not gonna be good to nobody. You know, so I think that's something that you guys should have amongst yourselves, just to, you know, let's have a mental health day. Miss Amy, I'm sorry to hear about your grandma, but you know, she might need a mental health day one of these days. Go ahead, have a mental health day. You shouldn't count against her, you feel me? Like, real things happen, you know? Yeah, so that's all I kind of like wanted to say. Like, mental health is a real thing, and I think that's something that y'all should have maybe a bigger conversation amongst ourselves, and it shouldn't count against nobody because everybody goes through things. And like I said, we're no good to the people, we're not good to ourselves. That's about it. And another thing, you know, that probably will help us move forward. I gotta upgrade this technology, man. Y'all living in the stone age. Like, come on, man. It's 2023. Y'all still living like it's a little 1995. Like, come on, y'all gotta come up with the times, man. Like, technology is a big thing. We gotta get this ball rolling. But that's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn.
Our next two person speakers, the first is Gwendolyn Wiggins. Topic to address is housing, and then next, immediately followed by Sierra Lassiter, and topic to address is update on call towers and community concerns.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Gwendolyn Wiggins, and I've been living on NRHA property since 2019. So when I first moved out there, the landlord told us to go in our house and inspect our own house and let her know what was going on. I did that. Nothing has been done. Nothing. I'm still living in the house to this day with mold and mildew. My kids have asthma. I took it to the rent office. A copy of them, the doctor's note saying that they have asthma. I took it to the rent office. The rent office got it on file. I've been complaining since 2019 about my living condition inside my house. I have mold and mildew running down my wall all day, every day on my wall. I could barely take a shower. I have to stand in the shower for 2 minutes and get out. Why? Because the steam, it melts the walls, it melts the paint. I just went in my house day before yesterday and scrubbed the walls. The paint is coming off the walls. I complained to NRHA. I even called downtown complaining. Still no result. I'm still living in the same condition. Then on top of that, I have neighbors that have been taken to court since last year, 2 years ago, matter of fact. I've been taking them to court. That situation died down. I have a new situation where I have to take a man to court for a man threatening me on the internet. NRHA have it. Young's Park have it. Landlord have everything. Documents, everything. Still have nothing been changed. I went up there yesterday to let her know that I'm still being threatened, I'm still being harassed. You know what she told me? Come to the meeting tomorrow. All I want to know is, what do I supposed to do about these situations that I'm having? My sons are scared. They are having an anxiety attack. They are scared. They are social anxiety. They are social anxiety. They don't even want to come outside because the shooting is going on. I stays on Whitaker Lane in front of the rent office. Shooting's going on. Neighbors not being neighbors. It's just too much going on. And I feel like I've been asking them, can I move or can I get a emergency move since 2019? Nothing has been happening. And I also have mental problems. They have that on file too. Still have nothing been changed. Nothing. I'm still living in the same condition since 2019 when I first moved in there. Nothing have changed. I then went through 3 landlords. This is the 3rd one. Taking my problems to her, complaining to her about my problems from years ago. Still have nothing changed. If you ask me, the situation is getting worse than what it is. And I feel like this. In order for NRHA to move me and my kids, something seriously has to be wrong with us. My house either have to get broken into. Oh, let not mention, my windows have been busted since July of 2000 last year. They just got fixed this year in March. So what else do I have to do to move? I even requested emergency moves, multiple moves. Still has been denied. So I'm coming here today to this meeting to let everyone know how my living condition is. It's worse. It's nasty. I even have complaints, copies of complaints. I have pictures. I have everything. And still has nothing been done. Still living in the same condition as in today from 2019. Nothing has been done at all. My kids have asthma. I have to take them to the doctor more than twice a month because their asthma is messing up. The mold and mildew is getting worse. Why do I have to keep on trying to spray my house with air freshener as the smell is not going out? You bought a whole new refrigerator in there. That refrigerator had roaches. Now I have roaches in my house. I called yesterday because my toilet was clogged. Did anybody come out? No. My toilet was literally running. Who had to clean it up? Me. Nothing has been done. Even when I put in emergency maintenance or put in a maintenance complaint, still have nothing been done. We have 48 hours for a maintenance to come to our house. Why do it take a week or a month for a maintenance to come out there to fix something in your house? I'm just not understanding. I'm just not understanding with NRHA. And I've been fighting this. And let's not to mention, they had all my income. All my income, I went with one income not on my rent statement for 2 years. They just put it up there. Y'all had all my income. I went with for 2 years without no income. Without that income up there, my rent was low. That wasn't my fault. Y'all did that. You want to know what I had to do? Pay that rent back. Why? Because y'all missed my rent. Remember, y'all missed that paper. So I had to pay all that rent back. I got a $20 fine fee. Why? Because my trash was out there on Tuesday when you're supposed to bring it back in Wednesday morning. I got a $20 fine fee. Right now I'm fighting with NRHA. All I want to do is put my kids and I somewhere safe. We are not safe in our home. 839 Whitaker Lane, we are not safe in here. Not safe at all. We are not safe. I shouldn't have to go outside of my house and see this man that's threatening me on the internet every morning, every night. I shouldn't have to.
I shouldn't have to keep on going to my rent office, telling them about this situation, and all y'all telling me is call 911. What is that gonna do? I have an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. My 11-year-old go to Rosemount Middle, a gifted child, and he's scared for his life. I have a 6-year-old that wants to be outside and play. Why? He can't, because there's too much shooting going on out there. We cannot stay in our house, because if we do, we gotta have the windows open all day. It's getting cold outside. So what should I do? What I think is I could, to be honest, I feel like in order for NRHA to do something for me and my family, we either have to be dead, somebody have to rob us, somebody has to have something on video, which I do. I got everything on video and camera and pictures. Something seriously has to happen to me and my kids in order for NRHA to move me out. And like I said, either death got to be the cause of it for NRHA to move us out. That's how I feel. Because I've been complaining about these problems since 2019 and went through 3 landlords and still have nothing changed. The last lord before this landlord had told me that I was in the process of moving. I still ain't moved nowhere. I've been denied for Grady Park. I've been denied for Deers Park. I've been denied for a mercy move or just a move. I've been denied. And I've been denied since 2019 and 2023 now. I've been denied. I've been fighting and still can't get through. I have a meeting with my landlord tomorrow with GTA for this situation right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me say, no, you can come on. I just wanted to make the point that when we hear public speak, when people address us during the public comments, I just want the citizens to know that we can't solve the problem here in this forum, in this venue,
Right.
when you do that, but we hear you.
Right.
And when we hear you, somebody follows up. But we can't solve the problems here. We certainly hear you, and it's a place to, if you feel like you need to be heard, that's what public comments are for. But I just don't want anybody expecting that we'll start solving the problem while you're here that day. Staff is here, the chief of staff is here, and those things are heard and spoken to in accordance with protocol and proper policy. All right, so who's the next public speaker? Oh, she's, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. So, good morning, everyone on the board.
Good morning.
And so, I'm extremely happy that NRHA will definitely be implementing a call tower. Those of you who have seen me speak here before know I am a very much so proactive advocate of the call towers. And so more than one reason that more than one way that we can actually measure the success of the call towers is by surveying the residents and asking them, do they feel more safe with call towers in their area? Also, we can actually measure the time distance between when the button is pressed and when the actual police arrive. In addition to all of the other databases that Ms. Karen Rose has access to. And so special shout out to Ms. Rose, because when I call her about any issue, she is available to answer questions, have meetings. So is Mr. Norman. Special shout out to my guy. And I gotta give Mr. Raytron his props. This turnaround that he been doing with Grandy, these implementing those summer and youth programs, him being a actual role model of the community, I gotta give special props to Mr. White, because for Grandy Village, he made that happen for them kids for many years. And even before he was a commissioner, he ran that TMC, and he did all the same things. So with that being the case, one of my major concerns with our communities is the lack of youth resources. Now, I recognize that we put the Boys and Girls Club in 2 of the communities, but I also recognize that these kids still need something better to do. I recognize Mr. Norman works double time to keep all of the programs and keep all of the trips and keep all of the things implemented in the communities in which he provides those services for, but there are a lot of kids getting missed in the process. There are a lot of kids that are inactive in the process. There are a lot of kids engaging their communities in a negative way and following negative examples that they see every day. So a problem is the city is no longer willing to support or fund these resources that we would need to appropriately help our kids to stay actively engaged in our communities. So if NRHA would like to partner in asking the city to finally reappropriate funds because they have the funding now. They received $1 billion in July for the city of Norfolk, so they definitely have the funding now. Funding is not an issue. Money is not a problem. Resources is not a problem. The only thing that is a problem is getting our city council members on board with properly helping us to assist us with the youth. Also, this food desert area in the St. Paul's area, if the Board of Commissioners and NRHA could definitely advocate with us to the city, once again, who has the funding, because money is no longer an issue with Norfolk for this year at all. So if we can get the help that we need to properly advocate for a grocery store, I would greatly appreciate it. I would like to stop sending our kids from the communities to school hungry. I would like for them to stop having so many behavior problems due to lack of resources and lack of food. Food is a main thing that we all need. All humans need food in order to survive, thrive, and, continue to be great. So I feel like if we can handle some of the basic needs that are continuing to go unmet, we can improve the sense of community within our actual communities. We can improve their quality of lives. We can give the kids the food that they would need. This will help out teachers. This will help out students. This will eliminate some behavior problems. And if we can get the city to help us with the piece of helping us with the the youth activities piece, then we can get our kids engaged enough that even if they are in a bad area, it won't feel like it because they will have something to do. When I was younger in the communities, we had Red League football, we had baseball, we had basketball, we had cheerleading, summer camps were available to us. We did not have to pay to get into our rec centers, and these things are a factor. So in order for us to see a more empowered community, we might have to fight for it. And I pray that if y'all are really listening to me, that y'all really help me advocate for more funding for the communities, because it doesn't always have to be on NRHA. Y'all, the city can help us this time if they choose to. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 2 in-person speakers, the first is Kenya Gaden, and her topic to address is housing and safety, immediately followed by Calvin Williams, whose topic to address is My 2K Foundation.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Kenya. I'm from Calvin Square, and I have some concern. The young lady that has spoke from Young Park, I live in Calvin Square. I have a daughter that's 14. The safety for me is that she can't even come outside. I have to walk her to the bus stop in the morning and still have to pick her up during the day. Because where her bus stop is, on the side of Calvin Square, that's where a lot of gang activities happen at. My daughter has anxiety, she has panic attacks, and she suffers from PTSD because of 2 traumas that she has endured. It's kind of hard for her to even come outside, because when she hears any shooting or anything going on, I have to hold her. I have to talk to her because she lost 2 siblings to a shooting. Her brother got killed in 2013, and she lost her sister in 2016 to a police killing. And from the result of that, when she hears shooting or any of that kind, it triggers her emotions really bad. I have to hold her. I have to talk to her because she have not been the same since that incident have happened. And the safety concerns with that is that she can't even come outside to be normal. And I also, have came to my attention that we've been having some assaults happening to women around in our neighborhood. And I also heard it's been happening out in Young. Numerous years I have been in Calvert Square. Mr. Norman has worked along with my daughter over the years. And I got a voucher last year, but I lost it because I couldn't find nowhere to go. The amount wouldn't cover where I was looking, or they had no availability. That right there really hurt me because I wanted to put my daughter in a better place, a safer environment. I don't care where we may go. I know every neighborhood is not going to be 100%. But to get my daughter in a new environment where she can feel a little better, a little safer, is what I would like to have for her. Because as a teenager, she can't even come out and even sit on her doorstep. I have to either come and sit with her, or she go, I have to walk with her everywhere she has to go. And it's really nerve-wracking that every time she hears a shooting, she falls to pieces because of the tragedies that she has endured. And this is something she's been dealing with since 2016. And it's hard for me to know that I lost my voucher when I was trying to get her out of there. I'm pushing very hard, and I have done it over the years. I even have an opportunity to move in Broad Creek when I was working full-time in Norfolk Public Schools, but I still wasn't making enough to go. So I feel like I'm trapped, that I can't get out, and I want to get out. I want to put her somewhere better, and then I'm a stay-at-home mom because she also is dealing with health issues. So it's hindering me to not even to be able to work, and on top of everything else that she is doing. So with the safety concerns, living where we are, it's very scary. It's very, she asked me the other day, Mom, when would I ever be able to walk to the bus stop by myself? I don't know. I just got to be with you because I have no family here. It's just me and her. My family, they live out of town, so it's just me and her. So I just feel as though that, when we get these Section 8 vouchers, a lot of people can't use them or do anything with them because there's no availability anywhere, or the amount that they're giving us is not covering it. So, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next in-person speaker, go ahead, Katie.
Good evening, Commission.
Good morning.
My name is Calvin Williams. Some call me Calvin Katie Williams. I'm the Executive Director of Matthew K. Foundation. I sit here and I listen to the citizens speak, and I don't know if any of y'all are aware of Matthew K. Foundation. If y'all, actually, Hampton Roads Ventures have just invested a few dollars with Matthew K. Foundation. I've been working with Housing Authority. We've basically been behind the enemy lines. Some I noticed as we've been in the neighborhoods with the vests on, they know it's for the vests. A lot of things we do that is getting unnoticed. kind of speak and let y'all know that I hear about the bus stops and stuff like that. We out there with the bus stops. I don't know if the ladies noticed, we out there with the vests on. They think we just, a lot of people think we just somebody the city put there with some kind of, we crossing guards. We're so far as we even actually been doing the crossing guard work for PB Young because a child he got ran over. And we found out that's what was, so we actually done it, crime, not a crime, I can't say we're crime stoppers, but we're crime preventers, interventionists, and interrupters. Actually, the chief just said that violence crime is down like 40%. A lot of that have to do with organizations like My 2K Foundation and the back channels that we have grew over the years, and we have mediated a lot of conflict resolution. A lot of these problems y'all have that we can help solve. Can't say that we can solve because can't say we can solve no crime overnight. But we have been in the we that common denominator that everybody's trying to figure out why things are going down. A lot of it to do with situations we're doing. I actually have dealt with some of the situations even in this room and still dealing with them and mediating and keeping it to a positive resolution it haven't got out of hand. I don't really like to say names and stuff because that actually gives us the power to actually to work with the citizens and actually to be able to have a non-violent resolution. But I'm trying to figure out how to say this in the most positive way. Me and my organization I know, and this is not to scare the community, we have mediated roughly 45 situations where it would have been violent to the point that it might have even been a murder. A month. We having a conversation with the 1%, because it's more, if I'm not mistaken, it says 1% of the community that actually is the violent community. We in conversation with them and backdoor channels to a lot of gang violence, talk to a lot of gang members, and it's like the bridge between, because I put this, we deal with what a lot of people don't talk about is two laws inside our world we live in. We have the law of the land and we have street law. So we're somewhere in between mediating what's going on because a lot of people that deal with street law, they're doing the way they're living their lifestyle. I'm not saying it's right, but I have to realize it's their lifestyle. And taking it as their lifestyle, sometimes they don't understand the lifestyle of the everyday citizen. And then you got to have somebody in between to actually mediate and let them know that, no, this is not how life works. And this is not suitable to society. And in My 2K Foundation, we're looking to partner more with some more funding to actually put people in the community because I can't change the mentality of the community and make the community feel safe because it's already trauma. We was talking about mental health earlier. This lady is talking about her child at the bus stop. We've been out there every day. She probably seen me, didn't even realize I'm out there. Me and My 2K Foundation been out there, and we have been aggressively to the citizens, letting them know that this is the reason why we're out here. But the numbers, whether you say there's not a change, it's been changing. The numbers speaks for itself. The chief just said it's down 40%, and Calvert and St. Paul's area has been the highest crime area, and it's down. And a large part is with My 2K Foundation. And as far as dealing with the trauma of the community, it's a mental health thing, we can address that too, but as far as the numbers and the situation, my 2K Foundation is the reason why y'all can say y'all numbers, because y'all know there's a lot of number games being played. No disrespect, but I don't play politics, but I know that's how it has played. The reason why y'all can say y'all numbers back to the citizens and to y'all residents is because we've been out your neighborhood unrecognized, and we're doing it from the heart, not for the funding. But as I'm listening to Ms. Lassender, y'all have the funding to actually fund it so we can actually do a better job and we can start really making St. Paul's area one of the safest neighborhoods in Norfolk. I'm just saying this to thank y'all for Happy Roads Business, Miss Clemens James, Housing Authority, Mr. Norman, Mr. Brooks. We've been having sessions with a toolbox teaching children how to navigate themselves out of, basically, no disrespect, Housing Authority. I mean, it's not to say that it's, but navigating how to survive in the Housing Authority, how to actually not be a statistic. We have used the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Anybody that never read the book, I ask y'all, please take a look at that book. And it's teaching the change. We got to deal with this mentality. This mentality inside our community is messed up, and it's not all on the community. Sometimes it's a Housing Authority. It's things y'all can do, some things y'all have done that didn't work, and y'all know it didn't work, and y'all don't know the answer. But I'm letting you know my 2K Foundation is the answer. Y'all, thank you. And Mr. Alfonso, I believe we had these conversations many times. It's time for a change. It's time for the community to see that Housing Authority care about them. It started with small goals. I really, be honest with you, I was not too supportive of the call towers, but I kind of realized that the community needs small goals. They need something there to let them know. It's actually, because it don't look like nothing going on for real. It don't look like y'all doing nothing. Whatever, y'all doing a lot of things, but they don't look like it. People got to see. So the call tower is not just for just the fact that it actually helped bring down crime. It also let the community know that y'all really care. Because just like I said, she had mold in her house and since 2019 and nobody nothing about it. People feel like you don't care. And there's a lot of things y'all do care. A lot of y'all do care. A lot of y'all do want to make changes. How you doing, Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark, I have talks with you, really want changes. But change is not going to all happen over the day. Sometimes y'all just have to give the people small goals to let them know that y'all got a long-term goal. They got to see it. It's a trust issue going on. We got to rebuild the trust. And I'm here to say that my 2K Foundation is the bridge between y'all and your residents. And if y'all work with us, along with New Virginia Majority, we out there every day. I know I'm not the talk about other organizations, but we out there every day. You can find us out there every day. People see us out there, they don't even know we out there. So with all that said, like, we need more funding, more communication, so we can make more things happen in the community. It's going on. Just people don't realize it's going on, but the numbers are showing shootings down, because last year was out of control. It was out of control. Last year was totally out of control. It was unacceptable. And I understand why people feel like they can't let their children go outside. And but if you've been through Calvert and Young's lately, children been outside. So with that, thank you, and I look forward to have more interaction with y'all. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I think that's the last of our in-person speakers.
That's correct. this time, we do not have any person online in the chat or have any questions online, but I'll check the,
All right.
just to make sure we don't have any additional information.
Okay. Just make sure, Steve, we don't have any more speakers.
Mr. Commissioner, at this time, we have no additional.
Thank you so much, yeah. All right, we'll move on our agenda to, the, St. Paul's CNI, Tyward Gardens, I'm sorry, CNI housing update. Steve Morales.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Today, actually, we have Brad Peters on from Brimshore Development. He is going to do a presentation and do an update for the Board of Commissioners this morning on the CNI St. Paul's Tidewater project.
Is that Brad on the screen?
Yes, it is. Keisha, there you go.
All right, good morning. Stay close, Steve.
You're on mute.
Good morning, Mr.
Chairman. Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
It's my great pleasure to be with you today. In fact, I operated in a similar situation over the last probably 8 years before joining Brimshore. I was the head of development at Knoxville's Community Development Corporation, and so I have a great appreciation for all of the hard work that boards like yours do, often thankless work, and so I really appreciate you guys being here. So I've been with Brimshore since the end of February, and during that time, I've been working on the whole CNI project on the housing side, in particular 17 and 18, the one that just closed. I can just say that nothing that we've accomplished would have been possible without NRHA. We've worked closely. I think it's fitting that Mr. Clark was honored today because he's been the interim director my whole time that I've been working on this project. But Scott, Terry, Pamela, now Steve, along with Delphine and Lynn, all of the folks who we've had the pleasure of working with have just been great. So I'll just say that up front. We can move on to the next slide. So the first couple of slides are just overview slides, and I think it's helpful to have a map to kind of show what we're talking about. I think for those of you who have been here for a while, we spoke about these different developments in terms of their block numbers for a long time, and some of the ones that are still under pre-development, we're still sort of referring to them that way. But we've started, the naming conventions, and so I'll sort of use both. But as you can see, as you sort of work through this the map from top to bottom, that's sort of the order of how these phases are being built. And you can see the total units there that are going into each phase. But I'll talk about each one of these individually. So we can move on to the next slide. So this is just an overview slide again, and it actually provides a little bit more detail, and I'll let you take a look at it. But this divides the total units into replacement units, into LIHTC units, and market units. So we sort of have these three groups of units that are available here, replacement being ones that have PBV or project-based vouchers attached to them, the LIHTC units, which are sort of rent capped by the low-income housing tax credit program, and then the market units, which do not have any restrictions on income. And then you'll see, again, I'll talk about these dates a little bit more as I go through these individually, but you can kind of see the proposed completion dates that are here. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so the first one that we're going to talk about is Reunion, or Block 19. Block 19 is a senior building, and so I spoke with our construction folks on the ground yesterday to get the latest update on this development. And so they confirmed to me that so long as Cox gets telephone lines installed on Friday as planned, they will be receiving their COs the following week. And so we would plan to move families in the week after that. So it's really exciting. I know that this project has been going on for a long time prior to me joining the team. And so it's neat that we're finally having residents moving in to these buildings that have been under construction and under planning for even longer than that. You can see at the bottom of this slide, there are websites that are available. Wait lists are open, and it's our hope that these buildings will fill up with new families relatively quickly. So we can move on to the next slide. So Origin Circle is just about a month behind Reunion. And so those we would expect families to start moving in to Origin Circle in December. And it's a very similar situation. We have these websites up and wait lists open. This is a family building. We have bedrooms 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units available here, and we're real excited to have families and more activity going on in the area. It's a beautiful building. Both of these are, and so we had a chance to look at them at the 1718 groundbreaking and really enjoyed a tour there. The units are wonderful with granite countertops, high efficiency appliances. All of these are energy efficient, Energy Star units, and they're really great. This Block 20 also has 4,780 square feet of commercial space on the bottom, and we are starting the process, actually been going on for a while, of renting those commercial spaces as well. And so we're in talks with some folks who may be interested in moving in. And we're also talking to the city about a program for commercial build out, both here and in 1718 and Phase A, which I'll talk about in a minute. 1718, the next one, has even more commercial, but what we're talking about are people who maybe couldn't afford to do a full build out and getting assistance from the city to help them really tailor a space to the needs of these commercial renters. So next slide. Okay, so 1718, you can see the picture down there of the groundbreaking, and for those of you who were able to make it, I thought it was a great event, and I appreciate everyone's attendance. It really was a nice culmination of a difficult path, a closing process, with VHDA, tax credit investor, a commercial condo, lender, HUD, city permitting, all of that coming together was just a great deal of teamwork between the city and NRHA and the development team. So on this one, just to review a little bit, this one had a 9% award, and we actually, in communications with VHDA, we actually turned in that 9% award and were awarded state credits. And so what this one was primarily financed was a 4% award along with state credits, and that provided us more equity, and so we were really excited. This was the first year, I believe, that the state credits were available, and so we were excited to get those. We also had National Housing Trust Fund, Virginia Housing Trust Fund, 45L credits. So we really had a strong block of sources for this, along with the HUD CNI money. As I mentioned earlier, this one has, in block 17, it has 13,000 square feet of commercial, and in block 18, 11,500 square feet of commercial. And so that's going to be a significant amount of commercial space in these blocks. And we already have an anchor tenant that is that's McDonald's, who has signed a lease. So we're getting started on construction. The pre-construction meetings have taken place with VHDA in the city, and the construction kickoff meeting with the city is on Friday. Immediately following that meeting, we'll be putting out our construction trailer, and we'll start putting in our construction fencing. And very soon after that, you'll see, the foundations and the earthwork starting. So we're real excited about this one. It was a long time coming, and so we think it's going to be a great development. We can move on to the next slide. Okay, so phase 3 is Tidewater Garden A, and that's what we're calling it right now. It'll have a different name, I guess, Kinship, when it's complete. As you can see, the unit mix is a little bit tilted towards larger units in this development. It's 191 units. Again, split between replacement units, affordable units, and market units. So this development is still in sort of the pre-development stage. We have turned in loan applications to VHDA. We do have an award of 4% credits and state credits. It was the same situation that we had that I mentioned with 1718. We had a 9% award, and we traded the 9% award in for state credits. So we were able to increase the amount of equity that went into this and funding. And so many of our milestones have been complete on this, and so we're real excited to keep pushing this one across the finish line. There are some coordination issues that we're working through with infrastructure with the city, so we're pushing through those now. These have been through ARB review. They have been through HUD review. We're still trying to determine if anything will need to go back to ARB. We think we may have a meeting where we show just very, very minor changes to ARB, just to make sure that they have seen everything and are comfortable with everything. But this one, as I mentioned, the funding sources, one of the big funding sources is Virginia Housing Transformation Funding, which was something that NRHA was able to get for us, and it's a huge chunk of money. It's $1 million, and so that was something that was really helpful in this one. So again, this one will be a big effort. We go through a sort of a 2-stage process where we go to bond inclusion with VHDA and then go to closing, and that's projected to happen in first quarter next year. So we're excited to get that one going. We can go to the next slide. Okay. So phase 4 is, I can talk about these a little bit at the same time, but you can see right now it is still split into 2 different developments, but we would expect to close both of those developments at the same time. And so it would be sort of like what we did on the first phase, where we had a 9% award and a 4% award, and we closed them at the same time, and that would be, called like a twin deal. So you can see we're very fortunate, and a lot of this is thanks to the city and NRHA, but we're very fortunate. We were, I guess, the first 9% award that was not funded, and then the board, after sort of petitions from NRHA and from the city, they recognized that this was a really important project for the state, and they awarded us 9% credits, even though at first blush we didn't qualify under points. So we felt very fortunate to get a 9% award. That's going to really help our ability to close the B1 phase. This one, again, it's been through ARB review, it's been through HUD review as far as the plans, and so we're thankful that we're through that process. We're pursuing a high E award, and what that means is it's basically net zero energy for this phase. So we're excited about that, and that would provide, of course, that would cost some money in the development process, but we expect that I believe it's a $2 million award if we're awarded high E, and so we would expect that to fully cover the amount of money that we're putting into it, and then some. So these would be sort of super energy efficient units if we're able to get that award. So on this one, we do have a contractor has been selected, and they're going through the process of pricing as well as helping us understand. It's a project or a process that we go through with every deal, but the architects draw up the plans, and then you put a contractor into the team, and they can help the architects with the efficiency in order to make sure that the plans that have been drawn are as constructible as possible. So we're going through that process, a pricing and sort of a constructability review with that contractor now. And so the plan would be for B1 and I'll get to B2 in a second, to both close in the summer of next year. So next slide. So B2 or triumphant. This is the last phase, but we expect that it would close at the same time as the other phase. And we recently received a $700,000 VHTF grant for this one, so we're excited about that. But we will be pursuing, we just turned in our application for high E on this one as well. So this would also be sort of a super energy efficient phase if we're awarded. As I noted on the previous one, it has also gone through Architectural Review Board, ARB approval, and also gone through the HUD architectural review. So we feel good about that. And we will be applying for 4% tax credits in the very early part of next year. So we feel great about this one as well. So with that, that's sort of the overview of the development. I appreciate you allowing me to come and speak to you. Are there any questions that you have? I know I kind of went through that fast, so a lot of information.
Albert?
Yes, Commissioner Lewis, of the large amounts of the commercial areas that you have throughout these varying build outs, who are some of the other commercial people that have signed up or you potentially think will sign up to rent these commercial spaces aside from McDonald's?
Mhm. So I can't say the names because we haven't actually signed leases with them, but I can say that in the first phase, so to give you a better idea, with 1718, it's really hard for commercial tenants to sign a lease 2 years, in advance of, or 22 months, whatever, of the completion date. Most people are thinking about their next year and where they're going to be. McDonald's can do that because it's a big corporation. What I can tell you about 19 and 20 is that we do have letters of intent with 2 businesses. One is a minority-owned hairdresser. The other one is a clothier. And so we are looking to move forward to the leasing stage, but we just aren't quite there yet. So we would expect that those would continue to move forward. We're looking for one more tenant. We've talked to a couple of nonprofits as well to fill a small space on Block 20. But that's what I can tell you without
make
really
one comment real quick.
Sure.
Well, so real quick, with McDonald's on the site, I don't know if all you remember, there was a McDonald's franchise there prior. Yeah. And so that is actually, they've been incorporated into the project. Yeah. And that's why McDonald's was there first for the first year.
Yeah, I think inherent in the question and the response from us is that point was being made to Brad, I think, looking for some healthier
grocery store. We're looking
entities to come into that unit, into that space.
Yeah.
Suzanne, you had your hand up?
Yes, but I mean, are we done for the question?
No, yeah, I just wanted to engage everybody that wanted to have a question.
No, I do have questions.
Go ahead, okay.
I mean, and this Steve might be a question for you, for Origin and Reunion, the wait list will be open or are open. How do people know that?
So earlier this year, a letter was sent out to all the former Tidewater residents that the wait list was open. It's been up on our website also, when we generally put the information up when the wait lists are open. But specifically for the Tidewater families, and again, as a reminder to the board, the replacement units, Tidewater families have a first preference. And so we actually have a engagement with them early on in the year, really about 45 days before the wait list open, to give them exclusive ability to sign up for the property. So we continue through USI, continue to work with the families there.
Phil and then Therion.
I have a couple of questions. One, I mean, I'm still on the upward phase of my learning curve regarding terminology, and I think we addressed this a little bit. So we've stratified things into replacement, affordable, and market. Can you explain to us what does that really mean in terms of financial metrics?
Sure. So replacement units have project-based voucher assistance directly on the unit. It's in the Section 8 program, and where in the normal Section 8 program, the tenant has the voucher. In this case, the unit has the voucher. And so the same requirements of someone in public housing or on the HEV or in the Section 8 program, they can, it's the same income requirements going into the PVV program, the project-based voucher units, the replacement units. When we put on their LIHTC units, which are low-income housing tax credits, those are income-restricted units. And so they're not specifically a rental assistance to those properties. However, those properties are eligible for the use of a housing choice voucher also. But the primary way to keep affordability on those units is there's an income restriction. And that income restriction can be 30% of area median income, can be less than 50% or less than 60%.
Can I keep a couple of other questions here?
Yeah, let's get Therion in and come back to you. Well, go ahead, Phil.
Well, we've heard today about big concerns associated with public safety. This is a prevailing concern. Now, when we are designing neighborhoods like this, there can be things done in that design process that help to facilitate a pathway toward greater endpoint of achieving higher, public safety in terms of measurables. Has that been factored into this development in a way that is going to allow the the community services related to public safety to be able to be more effective?
Overall, the community design, we had some core goals. One was connectivity. And so again, the connection with Church Street and Freemason, which will connect over to downtown, and sort of just having the ways in and out of the overall area is a general, just making the overall neighborhood work properly. I think the second part of that is with your individual, with the different apartment phasing. You have the private, essentially property manager, and there will be security measures as part of the development. So it may be key codes, key cards in order to gain entrance into the buildings and things of those matter. And I don't know, Brad, if you want to comment on other items, but sort of beginning to handle it just from the neighborhood standpoint, on the broader standpoint, is the integration of the neighborhood, mixed income community, is that you're better ties to the overall community, and then at the individual basis with the apartments themselves, at least with the elevator buildings, you're going to have, sort of more controls there too. Brad, did you want to comment in?
Sure. I think one of the things that the Choice Neighborhoods program does, and all these units are Choice Neighborhoods units, there's a focus on three things. There's a focus on the housing, which we've talked about. There's a focus on the people, and there's a focus on the community. And so we've looked at all three of those items throughout the process long before I was here. And so we've worked with the city to have, as Steve noted, walkability, public plazas, and all of the housing has been designed sort of to facilitate activity on the street. The commercial does that as well, but also all of these, sort of walking plazas and those kinds of things are, to basically extend downtown a little bit further, because it's, obviously these developments are right downtown. And so the idea is for them to sort of seamlessly fit into the overall downtown, and for them to be safe and walkable with a lot of windows and eyes down on the street. So that's the way that they were, developed originally.
Vice Chairman, can I just make one final comment, and then the other thing I'm going to suggest, whenever you're building commercial into a neighborhood like this, we're at a point where there's an opportunity to develop a strategy. What is it that we want to have? What is the overarching strategy to meet the needs of the eventual community, rather than waiting for the square footage to just appear and then seeing who shows up for rent? And I'm a little concerned about when the first thing out of the blocks is an international food chain.
Well, again, that's why I noted specifically with the McDonald's that they were brought in as part of the project because the franchise owner was part of the community right there. And so they are almost going back exactly where they were, but this time they've now got a 4-story elevator building on top of them. And so they were incorporated into the project. From the commercial standpoint on the design, and that was kind of key when we're looking at Freemason and Church Street coming together, we wanted to not just connect up with the streets themselves, but sort of give that overall feeling of, okay, you're now in this new environment. And so as Brad was noting, the development that that's to start construction, block 17 and 18 Unity. That area is the primary area where we have most of the commercial that's in the space. There's close to 40,000 square feet across all the buildings, but most of it is going to be in 17 and 18 along that corridor on Freemasons, which we kind of see as part of the core in the connection with downtown. And it also is going to match up straight with Church Street. And when you look at the other commercial that's going to be part of the project, it's going to be along some of the buildings along Church Street. So there was a lot of effort in the design. ARB, Planning Commission, went into the overall sort of urban design and how things are laid out, where things are at, where our commercial goes, the streets, a big part of it, and with the city's infrastructure work, how the streets look, the lighting, the parking, every aspect was kind of hammered out through a very long and arduous planning sessions with a lot of work from an architectural review board at the city and at planning commission. Again, things aren't just being plopped down. This is a process that we've been going on really since 2018 of the design and modifications as it goes through the whole process. So I think we're gonna deliver a very high quality environment for the housing units to be part of. But again, that planning forethought was from the beginning.
And Steve, I would add here that the community was very much
Yes.
involved in that process. We spent several days in Charette and followed town hall meetings and meetings at the church, and so the community had a lot of input into what they wanted this to look like, what
Correct.
they wanted their home to look like when they returned.
There's a monthly St. Paul's meeting, and Mr. Alver's part of it, and that many of the items that you're seeing here today that has gone through the process, and so there may be the initial professional design work, and then that goes through ARB, and it also gets to the community through the St. Paul's Advisory Committee. So we've done surveys, we've had it out on getting feedback from the community that way too. So there's been a lot of effort in the overall design of the project.
Go ahead, Terrion.
Hey, Brad, it's Mr. Kynes. Just once again, just talking about the commercial part of these projects, and I know Steve just talked about blocks 17 and 18. From a design perspective, because I know we talk about food desert in a lot of different areas in our cities, kind of isolated, will these 40,000 square feet of commercial space have the capacity for whether it's a small chain or a national chain, to be able to create some form of grocery, right? Because I know from a design perspective, that's something that's already been done. From a drawing perspective, will you have the capacity if a local or a national chain wanted to create a neighborhood market or a express version of their business to be able to bring to this area? Do you have the build-out capacity to do that within these 40,000 square feet of commercial space?
I can tell you that there's a lot of flexibility in the space in Block 17. And so I think if we found the right tenant, I think that's still something that we could accommodate. So I think right now a lot of the design of the Block 17 and 18 units, commercial units, are in sort of a shell format, and so there's still time to consider, obviously different retailers and different, food providers, different things like that. So I would say absolutely there is, a possibility of that, especially on Block 17.
Yeah, Brad, let me just say also, in the interest of expedience, Don Masaccio and I sit on the St. Paul Advisory Committee on behalf of the board and the authority, and a lot of what we get here is kind of updates on where we are, and a lot of the planning and neighborhood input has been done through the St. Paul Advisory, who have committees assigned to these things that involve largely residents and stakeholders and what's the other word I'm looking for? Thought leaders, I think, is the word that a lot of people use. So when here, if you have things that really kind of eating at your craw and say, come to the meeting. I think it's the third Tuesday of the month, I believe, Delphine?
Yes, sir.
Third Tuesday of every month, and currently we're meeting at Food Bank at about 6:30 in the evening, and oftentimes committee assignments are reported out there, what they're looking at, what they're working on, what the interests are, and then That will also give you some more understanding of where we are at every piece of this, process. And if you have some things that you can't make it, you'd like us to say or represent on your behalf, you let Don and I know, I'm really interested in Block 18, so and so. We can tell you where the planning is, what the development is, and we should be able to, if you just can't make the meeting yourself. But feel free to attend, and just in the interest of expediency. Go ahead, Albert.
It was at 6 to 7:30 next Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 or 7:30. Yeah.
I appreciate the welcome. I was able to attend one probably 3 months ago, and I believe my colleague Todd is going to attend.
Yeah, Todd is. Yeah, that's right.
Next
and
Tuesday.
Give the update.
Yep.
Go ahead, Albert.
During the community meetings, the charrettes and so forth, did the community formulate some of the businesses that they desired to have in this new development? And additional to that, Brad, or do you have anyone on your team that can go out and recruit, if you will, some more viable potentials for this community?
Yes. So there was a community conversations, and there was a wish list of businesses for the area. General business types. So,
Have some of those. What were they?
So, the standards, you want to talk about grocery stores, drug stores, things of that nature, food, clothing, it's the litany of commercial uses that anyone would want in their community as part of a normally functioning community. And so that is part of it. The development team has brought on Colliers International, basically to lease the space. So they will be outreaching and looking for folks to come into the space. What Brad was noting earlier is that one of the challenges is commercial business will not lease that space until they can touch and feel it. And so as we've just gotten getting ready to open the very first building with commercial space, he said 4,700 square feet. So that's what they're most likely working with right now. It's still, obviously it's a great opportunity for the development team and Colliers to reach out and start working with perhaps small grocers, because what we would be talking about, it'd have to be a small grocer, because it's 40,000 square feet spread out across multiple buildings. And so you're looking at 11 or 13,000 square feet in 17 and 18, you're talking about small grocers.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we, I don't want to stay here forever, but I don't want to rush it along either.
Well, I just want to say, coming in new, I can't imagine the energy and effort that's gone into the planning of this, but we're learning about this for the first time, many of us here.
Understand.
So if you'll have to forgive us for maybe asking some perfunctory questions.
Great presentation, Brad, thank you for keeping the time, carving out the time, because a lot of this has been seen by the renderings and.
I mean, I'm very excited by this because I see a way to connect the dots between what's being said here and the things that were talked about in the public comment section. This is the pathway forward, and our job as a policy board is to figure out how to make that process as short as possible and to be as effective as possible, as we can possibly be through this public-private venture.
Duly noted. Duly noted, and I will make that same comment at the advisory committee meeting if you, either one of you, are not there or choose not to be there to make it. I'll make that.
The next meeting?
Is it next Tuesday? I think it's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday at 6:30.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Steve was saying, I thought it was 6:30, but Steve was saying 6 to 7:30. At the food bank. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Steve. I think you might need to stay, Steve. You have Who is it? Oh, okay. All right. Do I have that on my agenda? So sorry, my friend. All right, so,
And Julius is gonna introduce it.
okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Is it still morning?
We're moving fast.
So far, so good.
I have to say this, I am here to introduce Dr. Dungy Anderson. However, before I do that, I have to say that this is so interesting. Years ago, I've been working with, prior to coming with NRHA, I worked with Norfolk Community Services Board, mental health and retardations and substance abuse services. And then I got hooked up with Norfolk Redevelopment Housing Authority. Product of Norfolk Redevelopment Housing Authority, grew up in Curry Park, but we know that as Calvert Square. But I have to say this, there's a couple of things. One, I wrote some things down that were so interesting. I want to say, for new Virginia majority, restorative. So when you look at me, when you come in the community, if you want to send me home, that's fine, but I want to tell you that all of our programs have a restorative piece with it to allow folks to get healthy. And for a long time, HUD had been, years ago, bricks and mortar. So if you look at HUD now, the interesting thing about it is to see what just happened. Earlier, you had a lot of things looking specifically at social issues of residents and their mental health and where they're going. And the last presentation dealt with how we're doing in terms of building. But if you look at now, when the gentleman came up and talked about my 2K, is that you use the reference that who moved my cheese. So you can see now that NRHA is not hemming and hawing. If anybody's familiar with who moved my cheese.
The moving the cheese.
They're sniffing and scaring. Now, look at that, just think about who moved my cheese so you can see how that transition is moving from bricks and mortar, but actually trying to build people. The other part to that is social determinants of health. I challenge everybody to go look at social determinants of health, looking at how we are no longer hemming and hawing, but sniffing and stirring to look at how we can create health equity, lessen disparities and injustices. And it's not overnight, but you can also see what's happening in terms of partnering. So that's why I'm coming up now. So you can look at the partners of everybody in here who's doing work. You can look at the commissioners who are asking questions specifically looking at how we can lessen disparities and how we can create equity and how we can create health in terms of healthiness in our community. Because when we look at the violence or anything that's happening in our community, the change is also and really going to happen from the health of our folks. And it's not just the health of residents, but it's also the health of those who are charged to actually provide their services. So send me home, as I started, if I'm not coming with a healthy attitude to help transformation and to inspire that change. So with that saying, with all the different partners that we have here, we're going to make it happen with you guys.
Well said.
The partnership, we're going to make it happen with you guys. And another partner we're looking to vet today, and that's why I'm up here to introduce her today. And I know I went a long way around because we went from social programs to bricks and mortar, which is so needed to actually make the change. But today, if she would come up, I'm going to introduce you to Ms. Dr. Elizabeth Dolores Dungy Anderson. She's a part of the Hampton Roads Community Empowerment Allowance, collaborative community engagement research grant program funded an initiative that was organized in March of 2022. Dr. Elizabeth Dolores Dungy is the principal investigator for the program, and she is a tenured clinical professor at NSU in the School of Social Work. I first heard Dr. Dungy at EVMS. So as we look at restorative programs, it's great that we have the partnership for EVMS. It is excellent that we have partnerships with Norfolk State University, Old Dominion University, that's going to assist us in making the change. along with the other partners here, and she's going to make a presentation today. And I thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'd like to say good morning still. Yes, good morning to everybody. I'm really happy to be here. I am the principal investigator of an initiative, and we are called Hampton Roads Community Empowerment Alliance. We've been in business since actually March 22, and we started our work in the community with connecting with pastors in the area. I am what I guess we used to call a country girl. I grew up in the country, and it was really important. I'm sorry for, my dad was the executive chairman of the Deacon Board, and I tell my colleagues that even though I did not want to go to church 3 times a day, I really didn't have quite a decision in it because of my father's position. And so when we began, I have a team, a wonderful team, and we're trying to decide what might be the best way to have somebody who's not from this community to come into the community and begin to connect with individuals at all levels, leaders in the community, residents in the community, individuals who are leading and or connected with nonprofits. And so that's where we began. We started with our pastors. So Hampton Roads Community Empowerment Alliance has a coalition of 24 pastors, their churches and congregations that we are working for and with collaboratively. And then I would say that because we were really interested in trying to offer some assistance, the speakers here today and the information that we have heard actually is information that parallels the work that we are trying to do. And I would say Mr. Retron White is leaving right now, but if you will look on the flyer that I passed out, these are my team members, and we're adding Mr. Retron White because of his connections with the community, as someone has said, what he has done in the communities. And so I guess I would say it this way, no offense, we're smart enough to understand that when strangers come into a community, you don't just go in and say, I'm so-and-so and we want to connect with you. It has to be a process, a people process. And so we have started connecting with Grandy Village, I think some of you may know, and on our list is the need to and desire to connect with the other communities, especially what we refer to as under-resourced communities, because we understand, and as it has been told, there are a multitude of problems, social determinants that impact how people live, how they think, how they feel, and the outcomes of their families and their children. And so we are funded by the Hampton Roads Biomedical Research Consortium. We're in collaboration with ODU, with EVMS, and they're also working on very similar projects as we are. But we all get together, and we have a special connection with EVMS, the medical school that will now be joining the one school of public health, but also the Children's Hospital, King's Daughters, and I want to say youth psychiatrist, but the psychiatrist who is in charge of the family and children's programs is a member of our team. And so I think at this point, we really have connected with individuals in the community, and that's why we're here today, because you are an important force in the community. We've connected with each of these to be able to ask several questions. Number one, what is it that communities need? And not us as a team being able to make a determination. We don't want to go into the communities and say, we know you need this, we know you have to have this. Our plan has been, and we've instituted it with the church communities, to ask the residents, as someone spoke here this morning, what is it that you perceive, you feel that you need, and we may be able to help you acquire. We want to have a connection. Our initial plan or thinking, and it hasn't changed, but we decided that we needed to do it differently, and that was to provide resources, after-school resources, mentoring for children, programs that would help with educational progress, medical services, mental health services. As I think you might have the board members, you commissioners, you might have a document that I sent. I believe it was put in your packet. I am a mental health clinician, and my practice is working. I still work on the weekends because I live in Chesterfield, but my practice is working with traumatized families, traumatized individuals, children who don't have attachment issues, children whose parents may have their own difficulty, intergenerational trauma. These kids go out into the community because they don't get the security and connection that they need. They connect with other kids who don't have the same thing, and then you have families of kids on the streets who come together and who decide they have to make their own way. And the way that they make their own way is not helpful to their development, to our communities, and to the area at large. And so our initial plan, and it still is that, is to try to bring resources to the community, services to the community, and all of the communities should be able to assist the development. Children, our main focus. But we're also, I hope, smart enough to know you just can't go in and say, kids, come here, I want to talk to you. That we have to be able to connect with families. We have to be able to connect with individuals in the community who have important roles and responsibilities. And so, as I said, and as you may have seen in the document, our plan really is to enter community by community with the meet and greet as we've already had in Grandy Village. We're asking the residents to come out. We're asking our team to come to talk with them, and for them at a later response to be able to tell us what they need. We've done focus groups in all of the church, with all of the church congregational leaders, 24 church areas. And we want to have this research manner to be able to say or to ask, please tell us what you need. Please tell us what your concerns are. Please tell us what you've been promised and what has been failed. Because as one of our ministers said, one of our pastor leaders said, communities are tired of people pimping them, coming in, doing research, getting information, and leaving, and nothing better has happened. We don't want that reputation. And so, because of our connections so far with communities and hopefully with you, we would like to be able to have, as I indicated, a partnership. We're not asking you for money. We're asking for your blessing, for your educational responses in terms of knowing what's happening, your own assessment of needs, and then we want to do our own assessment and be able to talk with the community members to say, based upon what you've told us, it seems like this is what your community might be lacking, what your community might need. And we would like to partner with you and provide resources. We also are going to work with nonprofits. There's 60 nonprofits in this area. We have their names. We are planning, we've gone through to about 20, and we're going to do focus groups with each of the nonprofits to find out the services that they provide, which communities they provide those services in, and we want to be able to support some of the work that they're doing with either funding or personnel. And so with that, and hopefully with your blessing and having access to the neighborhoods over which you're authorized to manage, we would like to partner with you and to do this work.
Well, Thank you, Dr. Dungy Anderson.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully through our appropriate, staff liaison or person, we will, have your question and then, respond, in kind. So thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Steve?
So today we're bringing a resolution to the board this morning, and this is dealing with the conveyance of land at Broad Creek. And first, before I get into it, I kind of want to sort of step back and sort of, this has been a long process. Broad Creek, what we're looking to do is ultimately change Broad Creek from what it is today, which is mostly public housing, and going to the project-based Section 8 program for the public housing units that are there. And the reason is twofold, really. Long-term, secure the finance of the community, and two, we have a major renovation to do. And this gets into low-income housing tax credit projects, and when you do major renovations and when you're able to do them again after you initially build the project. We actually started working on this in 2015, so it's 8 years. I think my first meeting out at Broad Creek on this issue, we talked about a RAD conversion, which is the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. Again, taking the program to project-based Section 8. We started that conversation in 2015. Through over time, there's been sort of different approaches and different thoughts on how to actually accomplish the project. But at the end of the day, we're at this point now where we're looking to move forward and actually looking to transfer the land over to the community builders, TCB, who are the owners of the apartments. Makisha, go ahead with the next slide. Oh, one other thing. We have Juan Powell from TCB on the line, by the way, and he's here to answer any questions also as part of the project. First of all, again, in moving this project forward, last April, the board approved a resolution so that we could apply for a Section 18 land disposition approval. And what that does is that allows us to actually move forward with the conveyance of the land so that we can move forward with the project. That was approved last year. We applied to HUD. We're actually still in the process with HUD, working out some small details with them. The overall team, we have the community builders. They are the developer and the owner. They currently own the units themselves. They owned all the buildings out there. In NRHA, we own the land. We are also the rental assistance administrator, so that's our role. We make sure that, right now for public housing, we oversee the program out there, and in the future, we'll oversee the Section 8 assistance that's provided to the individual unit. SL Nussbaum, they're currently the property manager that was done through an RFP from TCB. TCB is the contract holder with them. And through this process, they're going to be the property manager as we work through renovation. Housing Opportunities Unlimited, TCB has brought them in. They are going to be managing the temporary relocations. And we have it later in the slides, but just to let everyone know, there's no displacement here. We're not moving people out of the community and sending them permanently on their way to other areas. This is a renovation in place, but there will be temporary moves of folks out of their units while the complete renovation is done, and they'll be moved back. And the way we're doing that right now is we're holding about 9 units in this first phase is vacant as we begin this process and begin to ramp up to that. JG Workforce Development, that is a group that actually TCB's brought in, and one of the core goals from this board and the community has been making sure that we get contracts out there with women and minority business owners, small businesses, and so they were brought in to help us with that work. For Texaco, they currently are the contractor, and one of the issues, and we'll probably talk about a little bit, this project has been in the hopper for a long time. We were actually October or September, we were hoping to come before the board with this action. So they've still been on the hopper with this. And as you can see, I've got a couple of asterisks because one of the big issues is you can only keep your contractor on board for a certain amount of period before they have to go look for additional work. And so they still have this where they are part of the project, but hopefully that won't change. But timing is of issue. Next slide, please.
Steve, what happens if things don't fall in place and, where Texaco has to leave us, whether that's leave us now in terms of contractors?
We would rebid the project.
That would slow it down.
That would slow it down. Broad Creek is 300 units, and it's in the original project during Hope 6, there's actually 6 separate LIHTC developments that make up the original Broad Creek. And what we're doing is combining the 6 into 3 separate phases for this project. And so what we're talking about here today is phase 1. And so if you look at the map, you can see at the lower right-hand corner is the phase 1 area. And so we're talking about 88 units that we're moving forward with the renovation as part of phase 1, with the goal being that we move forward next year with a financial close and then get the work underway. We would be following that in 2025 with the other 2 phases and moving forward with the project with those 2 areas.
Steve, please drive home the point also that Broad Creek, when we talk about Broad Creek proper, well, Renaissance, we're talking about a mixed income community. A large portion of that is single family home ownership. And I live in Broad Creek. And so when we talk about Broad Creek, I just wanted people to have the understanding that it's not just all rental properties, but there are some very nice home ownership opportunity. I think all of the home ownership lots have been developed, and now I don't think there are any vacant lots available because we now have responsibility for being the covenant holder, the homeowners. But I am so glad S.L. Nussbaum took over the management because the other group that had it, the ownership group, they were doing an abysmal job of managing the rental properties. Not maintaining them well, not upkeeping them well, just treating it like it was, just another rundown rental property somewhere. And Nussbaum at least bought it on grade and has kind of maintained it so that people just can't drive through and say, why is there such a difference in this house and that one? So anyway.
Mr. Freeland?
Steve, how old is Broad Creek right now since we completed it? I should say.
Believe it or not, we are coming up to about 20 years. The first units probably started coming out of the ground in 2003.
Yeah.
And so
I've been there 16, Earl.
Yeah. 2005, I think, was the very first apartments began to be filled up. And that's a core, and Mr. Fraley, that's actually a core item here, is that when the projects are developed under the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Project, you have a 15-year compliance period. And that's what we're now out of. And that's what gives us the ability to come back in now with the new partnerships in order to do the renovation. Next slide, please.
Steve, before you leave that one, when you look at all 3 of the sites you've identified, over the top left-hand corner, for example, in the red circle, you see some units that are not included in the circle along Joe Austin and Majestic. Are they not to be renovated?
There are actually 7 projects as part of Broad Creek. There's another 50 units that are not identified here for renovation yet. Those were actually developed between 2015 and 2017. And so they are newer units, and they have not reached that compliance period. We will be back to the board on those units in the future. We just haven't worked out the strategy on those yet.
All right.
Again, where we're trying to get to, did we go? Okay. Where we're trying to get to is today coming before the board and looking for the land conveyance. then if we have that approval, TCB will move forward with the tax credit applications to Virginia Housing to get into their bonding round so that we can close in the late spring of next year. Also, in this fall, we are working out the final details with HUD on the Section 18 disposition. Next year, if all goes through, we'll be working on the financing, the financial close, and then begin the renovations in the spring of next year. And then, as noted, we'll begin also working next year on the other 2 phases in getting those ready fall of next year so that we can begin to work on financing and closing in the spring of 2025. And then ultimately, we're hoping to complete basically everything by 2026 and may slip to 2027 depending on how we do on our closes and construction. Next slide. So this has been one of the big issues with the board in the past, and that's just the overall cost. And it's a scary number, $123,000 per unit. And the reality is when we do the LIHTC renovations or come back with a recapitalization, you're almost starting from square zero in that there are a lot of requirements from Virginia Housing in what we have to replace, where typically as an apartment owner on what you would come in and do a renovation with, there would be a lot of things that you would not address. But under the tax credit program, Virginia Housing, as well as the developer, as well as the authority, we know that this is our shot to secure these properties with a renovation for roughly 15 to 20 years. And so things that typically you wouldn't go and replace, like, the roof may still have a significant life, you're going to replace it. The windows may still have a significant life, you're going to replace them. We're doing, in there you can see where we're doing a lot of the work with the, interior with the bathrooms, the kitchens, and all of that, full upgrades and replacements, upgrading of the water, the faucets and all the appliances there. The other aspect that we've had, and Commissioner Albert, you'll probably appreciate this, is that Broad Creek can get a little wet now and then. And we've had, from the beginning of the project, issues with water and basically going towards units where they shouldn't. And so there is, and also as part of the project, is sort of regrading and reworking, so essentially to address the issues there too.
Steve, before you leave that, on the architecture exterior, it says here, replace damaged windows. Are we only replacing the damaged windows, or are we replacing all of them?
Well, at the end of the day, we'll probably end up replacing most of the windows. There will be some where either they've already been replaced or they're in good enough condition that, where you don't need to do them, but for the most part, we'll end up replacing most of the windows.
Just for clarity, based on our discussion, the money for this is coming from low-income tax credit program.
The key thing here, and I talked about it in the board item, is that we had some core goals when we started this project, and one of the core goals was we don't have the capital funds to do this renovation. So if we don't have capital funds, we need a vehicle in order to do the renovation, and that's going to be through the low-income housing tax credit project and debt. And that's the key of converting it from public housing into project-based Section 8.
Which is an overarching strategy for this board.
Yes.
But we're not voting on something that costs $30 million.
No.
Okay.
No. Well, what the board is voting on today is the conveyance of the land, which will allow TCB to move forward with the deal. But what they'll be going after are tax credits and private debt. There will be no obligation on NRHA from this action for financially for this project. And that's a core item. That was a core item with the previous board, where the concerns about what are the financial obligations for NRHA on the renovation of Broad Creek. So what we have now come forward with is essentially there is no financial risk for NRHA on the renovation of Broad Creek. TCB is taking over that.
Mr. Vice Chair, can I just comment about something about dealing with process? The reason that my colleague, Commissioner Fraley, and I are asking the questions is because in preparation for this meeting, we constitute the Finance Committee. I think that was how the responsibilities were allocated. And Scott and Steve got together with us in preparation for this meeting so that we would have, as the sub-board of this policy board, an idea about how to come to this group with some sort of basic knowledge and ultimately be able to make our recommendation about it. And so a lot of this has been at least vetted by the two of us in preparation for this meeting. Correct me, Steve, if I'm wrong. Part of the issue is we kind of have the clock ticking right now. And while this has been going on for a while, and you could make an argument, maybe this ought to wait a little longer until we get the new executive director, the fact is we can't do that. And so they're asking us to move forward on a simple task of conveying the property. It isn't about whether we're approving the renovation, because that needs to be done, and we've got the mechanism to do this. And I'll speak in broad terms about this based on the discussions that we've had with Scott and Steve. I think this program, or what's done here, is an exemplary, or is a wonderful example of success of public-private partnerships. Honestly, Alphonse, I didn't know you lived there, but the fact that you are attesting to, the merit of this community says a lot. Yeah. And what it's going to be able to do is to align, local, the residents' interests, the community interests, this board, and the city's interests, and also align the interests of TCB and NUSBA, and do something that accomplishes an overarching goal, which is to move this entity out of the business of bricks and mortar and into the next phase of voucher-based support. And all we have to do today is to vote on the transfer of that property. And what's the market value of that property?
So if you look at the land itself, it's probably about $1.5 million. And part of how we're going to structure the deal is ensuring that the authority, in essence, gets that funding as part of the overall project. And that's going to be done in a couple ways, through the developer fee as well as a soft note on the land, and paid over at close and then paid over time. The core thing there is that those funds are considered program income, and they're governed by the HOPE-6 documents, and that will go back into the essentially the affordable housing programs, whether public housing or the creation of new project-based Section 8 projects, or things that the authority moves forward with new affordable housing. That those funds then will have that ability to go into those programs. It's for that purpose.
They are restricted in the sense that what comes back as profit for NRHA has to be used for
correct.
mission-based activity.
It has a HUD guidance on it, absolutely, saying you have to expend the funds in this way.
And what do you expect is the difference between, say, a market rate for that and what we're actually going to receive from the developer?
So, overall, the project, if you look at the units and the land, you may say the projects are worth anywhere from $10 to $16 million. But again, it all gets into what are your restrictions on the project. And part of the goal for the authority is maintain the affordability. So, again, the public housing units are going to come project-based Section 8, and the other LIHTC units that are part of the project affordable units will also maintain their affordability through this process. So when you put those caveats on there, it has a drawdown on what ultimately the property's worth. It is not a market rate apartment complex. So you have to look at it from that standpoint. There are always going to be restrictions on it. And from these actions, we're going to maintain that there are those affordability restrictions on it. But from the land standpoint, this first phase, about $1.5 million, that's its worth. And so we are working to ensure that some of that is returned to the authority.
So what percentage do you suspect that they'll return to the authority?
I think actually
market rate.
If we were looking for a market rate, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know the answer.
See, let me, and Phil, I really want to, I'll share some more with you offline. But this was a demonstration project that I can't utilize some specialized funding that HUD has some targeted funding program, funding that would help transform some communities from what would be traditional public housing communities. You go in and develop, in our case, a mixed income community, kind of proving that a $600,000 house can be built in a community where you also have a subsidized rental property, and it can be a healthy, wholesome, growing community. Now, consistent with that is also what you can use the funding for. And then a lot of what you're asking now has already been kind of approved or worked out, you know, and it's not sort of, doesn't use a traditional, if you will, valuation of properties and that kind of thing. And so it's kind of.
My point was to simply give us kind of a ballpark on this.
Oh, yeah, no.
And it's not that we're.
I know you wanted to kind of understand that the value of what the transfer was. All I was saying was, the reason I want to talk to you a little bit about it, because I want you to know how successful it's been.
It's been a big success.
It has been. And I say that with I guess coming from one direction, with the first house that goes into the community. So anyway, Steve, I mean,
Back to the process, the finance committee has met. We've raised some additional questions. We acknowledge that there's a time frame with this, and I think, Earl, based on what we've been told or what's been represented, we would advocate that the board vote to approve this. And I don't, Steve, forgive me if I short-circuited your presentation in this, but you kind of gave us an opportunity.
You were Earl down there making trouble. That's what happened.
Is there some funding that we continue to get from the land? I thought I read something in here that spoke about ongoing funding that NRHA would receive.
So in part of the structure of the deal, what we would look to get is if we put basically a note on the land, and then through the operations, we would be receiving some funding back. And that's to get to the land value.
From the developer.
Currently, what we receive on the land right now is actually, we don't receive any money specifically for the land. We're receiving operating and capital funding for the public housing units currently.
I want to point out one other thing that came out of this, the vetting and presentation is at the present time, all this is a tax abatement program. And now once this transfers over, this returns to the receiving tax rolls. Sorry, my friend. So the city gains because it now becomes part of the community, housing, standard housing.
So are you ready to entertain a motion?
Well, unless there's, as I said, I'm sorry if I kind of cut.
Happy to short circuit the presentation, and happy to move forward with a motion.
So I move approval of the action resolution.
Second.
We're ready.
We done. We second it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Puryear and a second from Commissioner Lewis. Thank you. Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Puryear? Aye. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Ms. Chesnitsky? Aye. Mr. Albert?
Aye.
And we'll continue to bring the project forward between the subcommittees, between development and finance as we move forward, and as well as back to the full board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to request going forward that Julius Norman introduce me whenever I have to come up here to say anything. If I could have the board's indulgence on that. I am bringing to you today a resolution for the write-off of vacated tenant accounts receivable.
Oh, this would be good.
Ms. Puryear and Mr. Albert will remember that how this was done in the past. We've made some procedural changes, first and foremost being that it's me standing here and not the housing folks. Because this is a voluntary reduction of an asset, essentially writing off an asset from the agency's books. We are, going forward, going to be doing this through the Finance Committee, and it's going to be in the form of a resolution rather than just a presentation with the numbers. I think that's appropriate. The committee has agreed that when we write off an asset, that the board needs to vote on that. So
again, this was discussed in preparation for this meeting.
Yes, and I was going to thank Mr. Fraley and Dr. Smith for the conversation and the questions. I think we were able to all be well versed on this issue as well as the Broad Creek issue as we came out of that committee meeting. The amount is very large. As the commissioners from the past will remember, we averaged about $30,000 quarterly. This is very large because we've only done this once since we came out of the pandemic. And that was done for a variety of reasons. A, we wanted to, the accounts receivable, because of the eviction moratorium, the unforeseen circumstance there was that folks did not pay, and the authority, because of the eviction moratoriums, had no course of action for that. So the accounts receivable balances went up, as I noted in the write-up, by over 500%. As we came out of the pandemic and the eviction moratorium went away, it was a policy decision of the agency to try to enter into repayment agreements with people where we could do that so that we were not evicting, because that is the last resort. We do not want to put folks out. We want to work with everyone. So we were able to generate a large percentage of that increase in the accounts receivable was transferred to repayment agreements. That's the upside. The downside is we have to do that on an affordability basis with the individual clients. So those repayment agreements can take a very long time to pay down. So I also noted in the write-up, because I think, Dr. Smith, that was your question in the committee meeting, was how long until this stabilizes back to where it was? And I'm guessing 8 to 10 years because of how we have to flow through the process with these repayment agreements. The first thing we do need to do, though, is to alleviate the books for the balance in accounts receivable for folks who have vacated since that time frame came. So it's a very large number, $208,000 approximately. Those tenants are all vacated. But as we always note with this, we do not preclude ourselves from collection of these balances through debt set-offs and other methodology. If a person has moved out, owed us this balance, we've written it off, that does not mean we are not still owed the balance. It just means it's off our books. We track it, and if that person comes back into the program, they need to satisfy that balance to come back into the program. That's important to realize. So it is tracked. HUD, through the Public Housing Assessment System, encourages, through the way they score, they've never actually come out and said, we want you to write your balances off. But the way they score, they encourage the write-off of these accounts aggressively. So I would invite the committee members, if you have any comment on the discussions, and then it is staff's recommendation that we approve the resolution.
One other question, Scott, I didn't have a chance to ask on the Finance Committee. These are going to be, this is a collectible debt, correct?
Correct.
But we're not planning on sending this off to a collection agency, right?
No, we do not.
Okay.
No.
I mean, that's kind of harassment for people who can't.
Correct.
It's not what we want to be known for.
Correct. That has the
lottery, we have a claim.
Yeah, a big state tax refund, we have a claim. That's the debt set-off programs. And, Ms. Purrier knows we've discussed this a lot over the years, and we do not want to be known for harassing former public housing residents. No.
Scott, you said these people no longer live in these areas that have debts?
Correct. Yeah, they are all vacated residents.
Okay. So again, it's national through
yes.
regulations, national.
Yeah, and the housing folks will keep stats on that, why people move out. Okay. I don't have that with me, but I'm looking at this as a balance sheet exercise. These folks have been out for a period of time, and it's appropriate through HUD rule and through the way we look at our books to write this balance off at this point.
And again, in the wake of the meeting that we had, that Commissioner Fraley and I had, our recommendation is that we approve this proposal.
Of course, we could not see the pandemic coming. moratoriums that were in place, it was thought or believed that many of the residents either were confused about not having to pay their rent at the time when they should have been paying their rent because they were still receiving income.
Yes, and as I recall, the message from the agency was consistent that you need to pay your rent.
Yes.
But we just did not have any method of enforcement with the moratorium. And one thing, as we spoke this morning, that came along afterwards, through the CARES Act, the city sent us over $250,000 to help satisfy these balances. So again, that's why this has taken so long, because there was always another program out there that was trying to help us get these balances satisfied. At this point, that is generally regarded as being over. So
and
now,
that was going to be my follow-up concern, that with this large of amount, might there have been any type of insurance or way that we could recoup some of this
no.
back in?
No, as an industry, that's not something we work through. And as we looked at the balances over the past, we were writing off no more than about 3% per year of the rent charged, which within this industry is really actually quite good. So I'm sure we'll get back to that point or better. But we just, this big one is literally, as I noted in the notes, a catch up.
Now, you said the CARES Act, which you explained, or
There were many aspects to the CARES Act. We got some money directly to help us with operations. We got additional subsidy in the Section 8 program and the public housing program. The city got money through the CARES Act for rental assistance. And so they had an amount of money, and I'm sorry, Commissioner, I don't have it in my head. But they, working with Donna Mills at the time, they had an amount of money they sent over here that we used to satisfy balances. Now, as to how that was done, I was not really involved in that. I just remember we got the list and you know, in finance, we processed it, but that was something that came about. And there were rental assistance programs during the time of the pandemic also that people were taking advantage of. We were getting rent checks from churches and from varying organizations to help folks to stay current.
So why is we move approval of, move approval for the
Right on.
authorization of the resolution? And we should be glad Mr. Masato is.
We have a motion from Commissioner Puryear. Do we have a second?
We do.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. I'll call the vote.
Please.
Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Puryear?
Aye.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Crowley?
Aye.
Ms. Chesinski? Mr. Albert?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And Michael, you ready?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I guess we still have a little bit of morning left. Just to confirm the East Beach resolution item, that's been deferred to a later meeting. So there's no presentation, no discussion on that today.
All right.
With that, I'll move on to my comments, and this is really, again, I just want to read a statement and make you all aware, those of you who are not, regarding an attempted ransomware attack to NRHA. Back on September 2nd, NRHA staff noted some unusual activity involving certain systems within our network. To prevent corruption, our server was shut down. In addition, FBI and local authorities were notified. Immediately after, a forensic investigation was also initiated. The forensic team confirmed that this was an attempted ransomware attack and that some of our files were copied. Please note that Still, as of now, none of our files are encrypted, and none of our files, we still have access. But, again, a number of our files were copied. The investigation is continuing. We still do not know specifically what information may have been compromised. As I mentioned earlier, the investigation is ongoing, and we're hoping to find out specific information as to what may have gotten out. However, we have, and this is with the direction of the board and also because we feel it's the right thing to do, we solicited the services of the Experian identity theft company to work in conjunction with NRHA to notify the public that we've had this breach and that our IT staff has moved to get us back going. As of today, our drives are all functional. We can access all our files. Thank you, Radu, for backing me up. So we are in business, and even throughout the initial stages of this, we were still able to access emails and telephone service, so we weren't shut down. That said, we are notifying anyone who might have personal information in our system. We're notifying this of the event, and we're offering Experian identity theft services to them at no charge. I'm going to give you a big number. This is approximately 60,000 mailings that we've had to initiate. And again, we're talking current residents, former residents, current landlords, former landlords, current and former vendors, current and former employees. So we also, a lot of times when you get your information may have been compromised letter, it's after an investigation, and you might read that, hey, it occurred in March, but you don't see the letter until August or September. We felt that it was important to make people aware, and we basically within the month of the incident happening, we corrected, we got our systems back online, and we began the process of notifying those 60,000 people and offering the identity theft services to them. Quite frankly, this was a major undertaking to get this done within a month, but again, we felt it was the right thing to do. We've notified the city, and that's council, along with city manager and his senior staff. I think Corey, Julius, I think you guys have reached out to the TMC presidents, so we let them know as well. And again, we're not asking them to do anything, but we wanted them to know in advance of letters going out and them getting calls or anything from residents saying, hey, what's going on? So we wanted to get in front of all of this. And again, it's been a bit of a challenge getting it done. I mean, getting the word out, getting our systems back running safely. Because again, you just don't turn it back on. There's a lot of triage. There's a lot of work behind the scenes to safely turn your systems back on. I think the IT staff actually had to physically go to each desktop, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, each desktop, laptop within the organization to make sure that we were good before we gave the okay to restart. So again, I just want to make everyone aware of that. A couple takeaways. We still do not know for sure that anyone's personal information has been compromised. We're trying to get out ahead of that, not wait and see, because again, the investigation may go on for months and we still may not know for sure. So we're being proactive and letting people know now. And we're trying to, again, just, even though it was done in a month, and even though it was a very aggressive effort to get this done, we still proceeded carefully and cautiously to do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes,
Just
yes,
for
sir.
clarification, you've labeled this a ransomware thing.
Attempted, yes, sir.
We got hacked.
Yes, sir.
Was there ever any contact requesting to be paid?
No, sir.
The ransomware was the thing.
No, sir. That's why we're officially classified as an attempted ransomware attack. But no, sir. Even to this day, we still haven't. And again, it is believed that by shutting down our server when we did and taking it offline, we probably prevented that.
You mentioned, I think in the last meeting, that there was funding set aside to.
Yes.
Could you expound?
Yes. I'll let Scott do that because it's budget related, but yes.
80,000 or?
About 800,000 actually.
800?
Yes, it's set aside budgetarily over a 5-year period for network enhancements. It really had nothing to do with this.
Okay.
But any network enhancement, you help me out here. Any network enhancement that we do make is going to have enhanced security measures with it. That's just part of the normal thing with software. Every new piece of software is more secure than the last. So it was not in response to this, but we do have an ongoing network. And the first part of this is why we really get our emails right away, because these folks had moved our email platform up into the cloud before this happened. So we had access to our email without using our servers. So that was one good benefit from this upgrade that we're doing.
Okay. And you said over how many years?
5 years. We're in, I think funding-wise, we're in the third of the 5.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks, Michael. Do you have anything?
One other thing. Again, hey, thank you for that resolution earlier. Deeply appreciated. But I gotta say, nothing I did over the 6 months wouldn't have been done without that executive team back there. This computer system issue we had, the IT staff. I mean, we had people working over weekends. I mean, we paid for their dinner, lunch, whatever, to keep them on site to get us back rolling. Corey, Julius, Gwen, again, to get the word out in advance of letters. Yeah, I may have kind of directed them to do it, but they did their jobs. It ain't just me, it's them, and I thank them for everything, for their support. Thank you.
All right. Any commissioners' comments? Amy?
Yes, I just wanted to talk briefly on September 9th.
All right.
Catholic Charities had a services and job fair. And thank you, Karen, because you facilitated getting a presence there. And Mr. Archer and I both attended. We had a table there. It was a downpour of the day, but we had a lot of people show up, and they came through. And we sort of worked it twofold. I mean, you know, Mr. Archer could answer questions from an HR perspective. Yeah. He was telling people, job seekers, this is how you apply for a job. We have openings. And then we also did it from the housing aspect. So we had flyers. We encouraged everybody to sign up for the wait list for Kindred and Origin. We also had traditional applications. Yeah. And then we had traditional applications as well. And just some feedback, one of the organizers said later on, there's a young man who has gone to your table, and he came to me and said, the people at NRHA, they talked to me. They actually sat down and talked to just me for 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
They really cared about, my needs. And so it was really nice to go into the community like that. And so thank you again, Karen, and thanks to Mr. Archer for his assistance as well. And then on September 30th, the Wooden Boat Workshop had an open house that I attended, and it's just fantastic. And if anybody has not been there yet, I encourage you to check it out. at 910 Valentine Boulevard. It's just, the work they do is beautiful. They had boats on display that they had built, and I was so impressed. I didn't realize how big these boats were, and they're usable boats. The workshop is beautiful. It was very well attended that day. The folks from the workshop were so thankful to NRHA for our assistance. This is a free program, so please, I encourage you, if you know any children, you have children, please send them, because it's fantastic.
And I will tell you, just as a demonstration and an illustration of how these things work, that program is a very small program. We're kind of on a shoestring. Got really hit hard over the pandemic because of the increase in cost of labor and so on and so forth. And so they receive a little funding from the foundation and other places. A lot of that comes down to the Ambrose Community Foundation, which they would not get if NRHA did not donate this space.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, so our donation of that 910 space, Valentine space, is critical to their supply.
That's awesome.
And they're so grateful for it. They really are.
I would like to appreciate, there's a lot of thanks going around, to Karen Rose. On yesterday, we had our, first, committee meeting, and I think it went exceptionally well.
What was the committee, Albert?
The commissioners, were assigned, we were the public housing.
Public housing, that's
committee.
okay.
And, I think the meeting went very well. We have some ideas that we are, sharing to move forward.
Good, that's good.
To, maybe find ways that we can track and maybe match risk for some of the things that, we're dealing with, in the community. And I think it was recorded so that, my colleague Amy can get an opportunity to hear, the information.
That's good.
And then we'll be setting up another meeting, maybe in the coming month. So
And those committees are intended to function that way, so that,
You guys were.
Well,
yeah.
along those lines, I want to thank Steve and Scott for, they're taking the time to help us come up to speed on something that needed to be pressing, or was pressing before the commission. But I want to say the other part of it is that they helped us frame an understanding of what our role and responsibility is to the board and what we can do to streamline the considerations that are going to come through this entity that relate to finance.
Amen.
Along those lines, we're waiting for the new executive director to show up to be able to memorialize what that engagement through the executive director's position will be. We also want to figure out how we can distill down a very complex set of information into a dashboard that can be shared with this board on a reasonably regular basis, kind of as a committee update, that will allow us to develop a way to communicate about the key issues that are there as part of the day-to-day operations of finance. So I really want to thank you guys for the time that you gave in helping to bring us up to speed on.
And I can tell you that,
Comments, guys. Thank you so much.
I can tell you, all that, one thing that will happen is each board meeting, for the most part, you'll have opportunity to report out on your committee.
I want to thank Steve, Scott, also, Mr. Mike Clark, for, just all the help, with the development committee, talking about, just different projects that are coming along in the area, whether it's projects that, talking about, the Broad Creek redevelopment and riding with Steve, and, talking to Scott about some of the financing stuff, and Michael just giving me a lot of history of the city, when it comes to developments and projects that, NRH has been involved in and things that we're continuing to be involved in, and also projects that we want to kind of close up and, shore up. So I just thank you guys for, all the additional education and information.
Very good.
Bringing me up to speed, and Mr. Fraley too, being a part of the development committee.
Very good.
Just the unison and the alignment that we have in regards to some of the things that are coming up. So definitely grateful for all the tutelage, and thank you guys so much. I look forward to working with everyone a lot more.
And Mike led development here in the city for a while, so.
I can tell.
Wealth of information.
Very knowledgeable.
Any other comment from any other commissioner?
You guys, Suzanne, you want these?
I do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
give them and hand them around, but in doing that, I want to thank
Yeah.
Commissioner Puryear for all of her efforts and.
She quarterbacked the process so well, yeah,
Guys did great, thank you.
Suzanne said, don't clap, throw money. So.
Amy, never mind.
So we do have to go into closed session.
I will get it,
And
I'll get it to you.
I have a, 12 o'clock meeting that I'm already gonna be 10 to 15 minutes late for, I know. Just getting out of here, but we have to go into closed session, so if you don't have anything pressing, Ms. Carnes, can you take us into?
Yes, sir. Resolution convening a closed meeting on October 12, 2023. Be it resolved that the authority will convene in a closed meeting pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended, the Act, to discuss the following matters which are specifically exempted from public disclosure by the code sections referred to below. Number one, personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, demotion, performance, salaries, or resignation of employees of the authority as authorized by section 2.2-3711A1 of the Act. And number two, consultation with the authority's legal counsel regarding actual or probable litigation and legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel as authorized by section 2.2-3711A7 of the Act. May I have a motion, please?
So move.
I second.
Mr. Conyers?
Aye.
Ms. Puryear?
Aye.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Ms. Chudzinski? Aye. Mr. Albert?
All right, let's take 3 to 5 minutes for a bathroom break.